Behind every legendary truck lies an engine that refuses to quit. Some engines aren't just machines, they're trusted companions that survive decades of towing, hauling, and off-roading. These are the engines that mechanics admire, owners pass down through generations, and stories are built around. Let's count down the 30 most legendary truck engines of all time, the ones that built reputations not just on power but on durability, simplicity, and real-world reliability. Number 30. Mazda B2200, B2600, 2.2L and 2.6L G-Series engines. Before Mazda partnered with Ford to co-develop trucks, they had their own ideas about durability, and the Mazda B-Series pickup, specifically the B2200 and B2600, came with engines that have become quietly legendary. The 2.2-liter SOHC G-Series engine was an inline-four built with a cast-iron block, aluminum head, and timing belt-driven camshaft. Rated at just 85 to 100 horsepower, it was never about speed, but its simple, overbuilt design made it thrive in everything from city delivery trucks to Baja off-roaders. Meanwhile, the 2.6-liter engine in the B2600, a Mitsubishi-built power plant, added a bit more grunt, and while it wasn't known for outright performance, it survived abuse better than most engines in its class. These trucks were often beaten to death by first-time owners, DIY haulers, and commercial users, and yet mechanics still report finding them on the road with 300,000 miles, still firing on all cylinders. What made them so tough? Thick cylinder walls, oil systems designed to run cool under pressure, and the kind of simplicity that meant fewer parts to fail. Even when emissions components failed or cooling systems aged out, the engine itself kept turning, and that's why it starts our countdown. Number 29. Isuzu 4BD1T 3.9L Diesel Inline 4. This one's a hidden gem that diesel fans, fleet operators, and Australian 4x4 enthusiasts all know about, the Isuzu 4BD1T. Found in everything from military Land Rovers to box trucks, this 3.9-liter turbocharged diesel might be the closest thing to a mechanical cockroach. It just refuses to die. The engine features a gear-driven camshaft, mechanical injection, cast iron everything, and a no-nonsense design that shrugs off neglect. It was rated for only about 120 horsepower, but that's part of the secret. It never stressed itself, even at full load. Fleet operators love it because it's rebuildable in frame, and parts are often reused during rebuilds because they simply don't wear out. These engines are known to hit 800,000 to 1,000 kilometers with just basic care. Mechanics report seeing 4BD1Ts with oil leaks, cracked manifolds, and ancient turbos still idling perfectly and hauling loads without complaint. It's not glamorous, but in the durability world, it's royalty. Number 28. Mitsubishi 4D56 2.5-liter Turbo Diesel. Ask anyone in Southeast Asia, Africa, or South America which truck engine they trust in a pinch, and the Mitsubishi 4D56 will likely come up. Used in the Mitsubishi L200, Pajero, and rebadged pickups worldwide, this 2.5-liter turbo diesel was built for one job: surviving anything. The engine's DNA includes a cast-iron block, forged crank, and early versions with a mechanical fuel pump, which makes them ideal in areas where fuel quality is poor or electronic components often fail. With an output of around 80 to 100 HP, it wasn't fast, but it delivered plenty of torque at low RPMs, perfect for off-roading or cargo hauling. Later versions added electronic injection and intercooling, but the heart of the engine stayed the same. Simple, rugged, and easy to fix with a wrench and a flashlight. Mechanics across continents report seeing 4D56s run well past 400,000 miles, often in harsh conditions like deep mud, mountain climbs, or 45 Duros desert heat. It's the engine of choice in parts of the world where breakdowns aren't an option. Number 27. GM 4.3L V6 Vortec 4300. If you grew up around a Chevy S10, Blazer, Astrovan, or even a base model Silverado, chances are you've heard the rumble of the 4.3-liter V6, one of the most widely used and longest-lasting GM engines ever made. Derived from the small block V8, this engine was essentially a 350 with two cylinders chopped off, giving it the same 60-degree firing order and rugged design. It featured a cast-iron block and heads, roller lifters, and fuel injection that evolved from TBI to MPFI over its long run. The result? A V6 that could easily cross 300,000 to 500,000 miles in daily drivers and work vans alike. While not known for refinement or gas mileage, it excelled at two things: low-end torque and bulletproof reliability. Plumbers, electricians, and weekend warriors loved this engine because it just wouldn't quit. It tolerated abuse, overheating, and neglect far better than most six-cylinders. Even when intake gaskets leaked or sensors failed, the 4.3L Vortec often kept on running, sometimes for decades. Number 26. Ford 4.6L Modular V8 Triton Series. Introduced in the early 1990s, Ford's 4.6-liter modular V8 was a turning point for the company. After decades of pushrod V8s, this overhead cam OHC design brought a whole new level of refinement and efficiency to the F-150, Expedition, E-Series vans, and even police cruisers. At first, some gearheads dismissed the 4.6L as underpowered, but as the years rolled on, its durability became legendary. With a cast iron block, aluminum heads, and a reputation for running cool, the 4.6 proved itself in some of the toughest environments, from daily family duty to construction sites to law enforcement fleets. One of the biggest strengths of this engine was its ability to take abuse. Fleet operators regularly report these engines crossing 400,000 miles, even with inconsistent maintenance. Mechanics often joke, "It's not fast, but it'll still be running when you're retired." The engine's timing chain design, low-friction roller cam followers, and robust oiling system made it one of the most low-maintenance V8s of its era. Yes, it had some issues like spark plug thread problems in early versions, but those were fixable, and once addressed, the engine just kept going. The 4.6 modular is a textbook example of why you don't need 500 horsepower to be a great truck engine. You just need to last. Number 25, an International Harvester SV Series V8, 345-392. Go back in time to the golden era of utility vehicles and you'll find the International Harvester Scout, Travel All, and early pickups equipped with the SV Series V8s, especially the 345 and 392 cubic inch engines. These engines were built not for performance but for one mission: survival. Everything about the SV Series screams heavy duty. They use massive cast iron blocks and heads, forged steel crankshafts, and internals so beefy they looked like they came out of farm equipment because, well, they kind of did. The 345 and 392 weren't the most powerful V8s, usually making under 250 horsepower, but they produced huge torque at low RPMs, perfect for towing, hauling, or crawling up rocky trails. What really sets these engines apart is their incredible longevity under tough conditions. It's not uncommon to find Scouts and old IH pickups with their original engines running after 300,000 miles, often in vehicles that have been neglected for decades. Mechanics who've worked on these engines say it's like working on a tractor. Everything is overbuilt, slow, and strong. Parts can be a bit harder to find today, but those still running them say they'd never switch. If reliability was measured by how long something survives after civilization ends, the SV V8 would be near the top. Number 24, Nissan TD27 2.7L Diesel. You won't find this engine on American roads very often, but overseas, especially in Africa, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia, the Nissan TD27 is considered almost unkillable. Used in Nissan D21 hardbody pickups, Toronto, and urban vans, the 2.7L diesel earned a global reputation for toughness. It's an inline-4 turbo diesel with mechanical injection, gear-driven timing, and a cast-iron block and head. There's no fancy tech here, just simple, rugged engineering designed to run in places where mechanics are rare, fuel is inconsistent, and roads barely exist. Many of these engines run with minimal oil, clogged filters, or failed radiators and still make it home. Fleet managers and expedition drivers routinely report over 500,000 miles with only basic maintenance like oil changes and fuel filter swaps. In off-road circles, it's known as the engine that just refuses to die. While power is modest, around 85 to 100 horsepower, the torque delivery is strong and low, perfect for slow-speed crawling and carrying cargo over impossible terrain. Mechanics often say the TD27 can run dry and hot longer than any engine should be able to. Not that you should test that, but for people living or traveling in remote, rugged areas, it's the diesel of choice when reliability literally means survival. Number 23, Dodge Magnum 5.9L V8, 360 CID. Before Hemi made its comeback, Dodge relied on an old-school powerhouse, the 5.9-layer Magnum V8, based on Chrysler's 360 cubic inch small block. Found in Ram 1500s, Durangos, and vans from the mid-90s through early 2000s, the Magnum 5.9 might not be high-tech, but it is proven beyond question. The Magnum version used roller lifters, high-swirl combustion chambers, and multi-port fuel injection, giving it a bump in both power and efficiency. It typically made around 245 to 250 horsepower and 335 libre-foot for torque, making it strong enough to tow, haul, and survive hard daily driving. But what really makes the 5.9 Magnum special is how simple and repairable it is. With a strong cast iron block, plenty of aftermarket parts, and tons of mechanic familiarity, this engine earned its place under the hood of work trucks across the country. It had a few known weaknesses like plenum gasket failures and occasional oil consumption, but once fixed, these engines routinely reached 300,000 plus miles. Even today, Dodge fans search out old trucks with the 5.9 simply because they know it's a no-drama, big torque engine. Mechanics call it a perfect blend of old-school strength and modern drivability. It's not exotic, it's not flashy, but it shows up for work and stays until the job's done. That's why it earns a spot on this list. Number 22. GM's 6.5-liter Detroit diesel V8. Before Duramax took over GM's diesel lineup, there was the 6.5-liter Detroit diesel V8, a workhorse that powered Chevrolet and GMC trucks, Suburbans, Hummers, and military vehicles from the early 1990s through the early 2000s. While not the most powerful diesel by today's standards, the 6.5-liter gained a following for one major reason: longevity under pressure. It featured a cast-iron block, forged crankshaft, indirect injection, and simple electronics. Early mechanical injection versions were especially beloved by off-roaders and rural fleet operators. Despite some issues with the factory PMD pump-mounted driver failing due to heat, once relocated and properly cooled, the 6.5 proved to be a high-mileage champ. These engines commonly hit 400,000+ miles, especially in fleet service or military applications. Its simplicity also made it easy to repair in the field, something many modern diesel engines can't claim. And with decent torque around 400 lb/foot and excellent fuel economy for the era, the 6.5 earned a quiet, dependable legacy. Mechanics often describe it as not a racehorse but a reliable mule, one that you can count on year after year. Number 21. Mercedes OM 617 3.0L Diesel Inline 5. Let's step outside the US market for a moment and shine a light on one of the most overbuilt engines in history, the Mercedes-Benz OM 617. While this engine is best known for powering older Benz sedans like the 300D, it was also used in trucks, vans, and even industrial applications globally. This 3.0-liter inline-5 diesel is slow, loud, and smoky, but it is also practically indestructible. Featuring a cast-iron block and head, mechanical Bosch inline injection pump, and a simple turbocharger on later versions, it was designed to run on everything from biodiesel to jet fuel in extreme conditions. The OM 617 was installed in vehicles meant to travel hundreds of thousands of miles across continents, and they did. In Africa, the Middle East, and South America, it's not unusual to find these engines still running strong past 500,000 or even 1 million miles. Mechanics love them for one big reason: they're ridiculously easy to keep alive. With no electronics, easy valve adjustments, and rugged components, they can run on bad fuel, poor oil, and total neglect and still chug along. It may be slow, but the OM 617 might be one of the longest-living diesel engines ever built, and it earned every bit of its legend. Number 20. Ford 5.0L Windsor V8 302. Before Coyote became the buzzword for Ford performance, there was a V8 that quietly powered everything from muscle cars to work trucks, the 5.0-liter Windsor, better known as the 302. While it gained fame in Mustangs, the 302 was also the heartbeat of F-150s, Broncos, and Econoline vans for decades. This engine blended simplicity, longevity, and aftermarket support into one of the most versatile power plants Ford ever produced. With a cast-iron block, hydraulic roller lifters, and strong rotating assembly, the 302 was known to hit 300,000+ miles with regular oil changes and minimal drama. It was easy to rebuild, easy to modify, and easy to source parts for, making it a favorite among DIY mechanics. What gave it staying power wasn't just its toughness, it was its balance. Enough torque to tow, enough refinement for daily driving, and just enough power to make it fun. Ford used this platform across nearly all their light-duty trucks from the mid-1980s through the mid-90s. Mechanics often say if you blow up a 302, you did something really wrong, and that's why it still shows up in engine swap projects and junkyard survivors to this day. Number 19. Cummins 6BT 5.9-liter non-intercooled early 12-valve. If you thought the 12-valve Cummins was a one-trick pony, think again. Long before the high-horsepower tuners started tweaking them, the original 5.9-liter 6BT used in Dodge Ram trucks from 1989 to 1993 was already a mechanical masterpiece. This version was non-intercooled, featured 6 head bolts per cylinder, mechanical Bosch V injection pump, and a gear-driven camshaft, making it nearly immune to the failures that plague modern electronically controlled engines. Built for simplicity and longevity, this inline 6 was used in everything from agriculture and construction equipment to bread trucks and school buses. Its design was intentionally low-stress, with power numbers around 160 to 180 HP and 400 lb/ft of torque, but with enormous headroom for durability. What made this version special was its pre-electronic injection system, which meant no sensors, no ECU, just reliable mechanical fuel delivery. These early 6BTs were so durable that many are still in service today in farm equipment or off-grid work vehicles. Mechanics describe it as the diesel that made diesel cool again, and it's no exaggeration. The early 6BT is a prime example of how smart engineering can create something nearly eternal. Number 18. Toyota 1HES for 4.2-liter inline-6 diesel. Ask any overlander, expedition guide, or remote mechanic in Australia or Africa what engine they trust with their life, and most will say the same thing: Toyota's 1HES. This naturally aspirated 4.2-liter diesel inline-6 was built to be a workhorse, not a speed demon. Introduced in the Toyota Land Cruiser 70 and 80 series, the 1HES featured a cast-iron block and head, gear-driven timing, pre-combustion chambers, and mechanical fuel injection. It was intentionally low-strung, just around 130 horsepower and 210 lb-ft of torque, but that meant very little stress on internal components. That low-stress design, paired with Toyota's obsessive engineering, made this one of the most durable diesel engines ever produced. What makes the 1HES so legendary isn't just its construction, it's how it thrives in extreme, unforgiving environments. Dusty deserts, high altitudes, poor fuel quality, and brutal heat don't bother this engine. Mechanics across developing nations regularly service 1HES-powered trucks with 500,000 to 1 million kilometers on the clock, and they're still going strong. Parts are simple, service is easy, and breakdowns are rare. It's not flashy, but if your life depends on an engine, this is one you want under the hood. Number 17. Ford 6.2L Boss V8 F-Series Super Duty. When Ford retired the old V10 Triton, they needed a new heavy-duty gasoline engine for the F250 and F350 Super Duty lineup, something that could take a beating and keep on pulling. The answer was the 6.2L Boss V8. Debuting in 2011, this engine was designed from the ground up for truck use, not retrofitted from a car engine. It features a cast-iron block, aluminum heads, dual spark plugs per cylinder, and separate cooling passages for exhaust valve areas, a key innovation that helps the engine stay cool under load. Despite being gasoline-powered, the 6.2-liter is known for diesel-like toughness. With 385 horsepower and 430 lb-ft of torque, it was never the most powerful, but it was incredibly reliable and low maintenance, even in punishing fleet use. Mechanics praise the 6.2 for its forgiving nature, robust timing chain, and thick cylinder sleeves. It's common to see these engines hit 300,000 miles in municipal trucks, utility fleets, and snowplows, with nothing more than regular oil changes and spark plugs. It may not have the fame of the Power-stroke diesel, but the 6.2 Boss V8 quietly earned its place as one of Ford's best long-life engines. Number 16. Nissan TD42 4.2L Inline-6 Diesel. Another global legend, the Nissan TD42 is the heart and soul of the Patrol GQ and GU series, and it's earned an almost mythical status in the off-road world. This 4.2-liter naturally aspirated or turbocharged diesel inline-6 is often compared to Toyota's 1HES, and for good reason. It features a cast-iron block and head, gear-driven timing, mechanical injection pump, and forged internals designed to handle serious abuse. The TD42's strength lies in its mechanical simplicity and brute force toughness. Whether it's crawling over rocks, crossing rivers, or towing on mountain roads, the engine delivers steady torque, low-end grunt, and exceptional cooling under load. In turbocharged form, it can handle serious boost on stock internals. Many TD42s are modded to double their stock power and still last over 500,000 kilometers. But even in stock form, it routinely exceeds 1 million kilometers with only basic service. In remote areas where breakdowns can be fatal, the TD42 has become a favorite because it just works, no matter what. It's one of the few engines that rivals the 1HES in terms of reliability and simplicity. Number 15. Chevrolet 8.1L Vortec V8 416CID. Chevy's 8.1-liter Vortec V8, also known as the 496 cubic inch big block, was GM's answer to a growing need for serious gasoline towing power in the early 2000s. Found in Silverado HDs, Suburbans 2500, Avalanche 2500, and medium-duty trucks, this engine was a beast in every sense of the word. With 340 horsepower and 455 lb-ft of torque, the 8.1 Leo was purpose-built for heavy hauling. It featured a cast-iron block, forged steel crank, heavy-duty pistons, and massive coolant and oil capacity. Everything about it was built to endure heat, stress, and weight. The secret to the 8.1's durability wasn't just in its size. It was the low RPM torque curve, low compression ratio, and bulletproof internal components. Mechanics love it for its reliability, especially in RVs and tow rigs that regularly pull 10,000 plus over long distances. Owners report 300,000 to 400,000 miles with no internal repairs. The biggest concerns? Fuel economy, because this engine drinks like a sailor. But if you needed gas-powered strength without going diesel, the 8.1 Vortec was the answer. It's becoming a cult favorite among Chevy enthusiasts, and it's one of the last true big blocks GM ever made for light-duty trucks, a proper send-off to an era of overbuilt American torque. Number 14, Isuzu 4BD1 4BD2T 3.9L diesel inline 4 If there's a diesel engine that mechanics around the world would call indestructible, it's the Isuzu 4BD1 and its turbocharged sibling, the 4BD2T. These 3.9-liter inline-4 diesels were used in commercial trucks, vans, and industrial machinery from the 1980s through the early 2000s. Built with a cast-iron block and head, gear-driven camshaft, and mechanical injection, these engines were made to survive abuse. They weren't fast, they weren't glamorous, but they just kept going. The 4BD1 was naturally aspirated, making around 87 to 90 horsepower, while the 4BD2T added a turbo for more torque up to 180 libre-fit. Both were low-revving, under-stressed engines designed for longevity over performance. What makes these engines legendary is their simplicity and serviceability. Mechanics say you can rebuild one in the back of a shed with a socket set and a torque wrench. Fuel economy is excellent. Parts are widely available in many parts of the world, and real-world examples routinely pass 500,000 kilometers before major overhaul. In some countries, they're still running daily in 40-year-old NPR trucks and military vehicles. That's not luck, that's brilliant engineering. Number 13, Ford 460 V8, 7.5-liter big block. If you needed a massive gasoline engine to move serious weight before the diesel era truly took hold, Ford's 7.5-liter 460 V8 was your go-to solution. Produced from the late 1960s into the mid-90s, this big block powered everything from F-250s and F-350s to motorhomes, U-Haul trucks, and Class A RVs. The 460 was a torque monster, delivering 375 to 500 libre-foot depending on the version and year. With a cast-iron block and heads, hydraulic lifters, and simple carbureted and later EFI setups, it was designed to work hard without fancy electronics. What made the 460 shine wasn't just brute strength, it was durability under load. These engines were often put into harsh, high-mileage applications, and many are still rolling with 200,000-plus miles, having pulled fifth wheels or campers their whole lives. Its large displacement and heavy internals meant it wasn't fuel efficient, but it could take neglect. Cooling system issues, minor oil leaks, it would keep going. Rebuilds were straightforward, and parts are still available thanks to a massive following in the RV and hot rod world. Mechanics describe it as the kind of engine that doesn't care what you throw at it. Just change the oil and don't overheat it, and it'll run until the wheels fall off. Number 12, GM 6.0L Vortec V8, LQ4, LQ9. Few modern gas engines have earned the kind of respect that GM 6.0L Vortec V8 has in the truck world. Found in Silverado HDs, Yukon XLs, Suburban 2500s, express vans, and even school buses, the LQ4 and its high-output cousin, the LQ9, is a textbook example of overbuilt reliability. With an iron block, aluminum heads, forged crank, and strong internals, this LS-based engine was designed to take abuse and keep delivering. Most versions made 300 to 360 horsepower and 360 to 380 libre-foot of torque, but more importantly, they could handle it all day long. These engines are known to last 400,000-plus miles with basic care. The cooling system, oiling design, and electronic controls are all dialed in for longevity. It's no wonder many fleet operators still prefer the 6.0 in their vans and heavy-duty trucks even after newer engines became available. Mechanics love it for its simplicity, durability, and cheap parts. Whether towing, hauling, or running as a delivery truck, the 6.0 Vortec rarely complains. It's also a favorite for engine swaps thanks to its power-to-cost ratio. It's not fancy, it's not flashy, but it's one of the most battle-tested modern gas engines ever made. Number 11. Cummins ISB 6.7-liter turbo diesel 2007. When Cummins updated its famous 5.9-liter diesel to meet emission standards, many were skeptical. But over time, the 6.7-liter ISB launched in 2007 in Ram HD trucks proved that it could not only meet regulations but maintain legendary reliability. With a high-pressure common rail fuel system, variable geometry turbo, cast-iron block, and forged steel crankshaft, the 6.7 ISB is built to handle modern power demands without sacrificing strength. Early versions made around 350 HP and 650 libre-foot, but later models exceeded 400 HP and 1,000 libre-foot. Despite tighter emissions controls, EGR, DPF, DF, the 6.7 remains a favorite among both commercial fleets and serious haulers. Why? Because it's still a true inline-six diesel, with massive torque, gear-driven accessories, and long service intervals. Fleet trucks with 300,000 to 600,000 miles are common. The engine responds well to regular maintenance, and once emissions equipment is properly serviced or an off-road case is deleted, it can match the older 5.9's reputation for reliability. Mechanics often say the 6.7 ISB brought the best of the old and new together. It's still tough as nails, but now wrapped in 21st century tech. Number 10. Nissan VQ40DE 4.0L V6 Frontier Volt Xterra. Quietly one of the toughest modern V6 engines around, Nissan's VQ40DE has proven itself in Frontiers, Xterras, and some Pathfinders since 2005. Don't let its mid-size status fool you. This 4.0L V6 was overbuilt in all the right ways. With dual overhead cams, aluminum block with reinforced cylinder walls, forged steel crankshaft, and variable valve timing, the VQ40DE produced 261 horsepower and 281 lord-foot of torque, while regularly running past 300,000 miles. Mechanics appreciate the chain-driven timing system, no belts to replace, and the integrated oil cooler that helps under towing loads. A ladder frame bottom end provides rigidity under stress, while micro-finish crank journals reduce wear and tear long-term. It's not just longevity. The VQ40DE maintains performance, torque, and fuel economy even in older trucks. These engines rarely visit the shop for anything more than spark plugs, sensors, or the occasional timing chain tensioner. They're workhorses in disguise. Number 9. GM 5.3 Lair Vortec V8 LM7 Slide Gen 3. From Silverados to Tahoes, Sierras, Avalanches, and even Corvettes, the 5.3 Vortec is arguably the most important small block of the modern era. The LM7 version, produced from 1999 to 2007, was especially known for durability. It featured a cast-iron block, aluminum heads, hydraulic roller lifters, and sequential fuel injection. Power hovered around 285 HP and 325 lowboard, but the real win was its 350,000-mile capability with just regular maintenance. Mechanics love the deep skirt block design, 6-bolt main caps, and priority oiling system that keeps the bearings happy under stress. Whether it's hauling a camper or used in a daily family SUV, this engine just refuses to quit. The 5.3's aftermarket is huge, and so is its reputation. Many shops still say if it's an LM7 and has oil, it's probably running. You're watching one of the most mechanic-trusted engine lists out there, so help us out. Which truck engine has gone the longest for you personally? Ever owned a Vortec that just wouldn't die? Do you think Nissan's VQ40 deserves more respect than it gets? Drop your answers in the comments, and while you're there, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you're enjoying this deep dive into bulletproof engines. Now, let's get back into it. Number 8. AMC 4.0L Inline 6 Jeep Cherokee Wrangler Comanche. Simple, stout, reliable. The AMC 4.0L Inline 6, used in Jeep Cherokees XJ, Wranglers YJ, TJ, and Comanches, is a prime example of if it ain't broke, don't fix it engineering. Produced from 1986 to 2006, this engine saw 20 years of near uninterrupted service. Built on a cast-iron block and head with 7 main bearings, hydraulic lifters, and a non-interference valve train, the 4.0 was designed for abuse. These engines routinely reach 400,000 miles, sometimes more with basic maintenance. Fuel injection on later models improved reliability even more, and the engine's cross-flow head design helped cooling and combustion efficiency. Despite common cracked manifolds and small oil leaks, most mechanics agree the AMC 4.0 never dies unless it's neglected severely. Torque came in early and stayed flat, making it a dream for off-road use and rock crawling. It's no surprise Jeep fans still consider this the gold standard for straight-six power. Number 7. Chevy 350 Small Block V8 L31 Vortec CK Series trucks. One of the most iconic American V8s ever made, the Chevy 350, has powered everything from classic pickups to delivery vans, muscle cars, and even boats, but the L31 Vortec version, 1996 to 2002, stands out for its toughness in trucks. This 5.7L engine was the final evolution of the original small block, with a roller camshaft, 4-bolt mains, and high-flow Vortec heads. It delivered 255 HP and 330 labor-force, but more importantly, it delivered it forever. The bottom end was nearly unbreakable. A forged crankshaft, cast pistons with tight clearances, and a high-volume oil pump ensured lubrication even under towing loads. It wasn't uncommon to see these engines hit 500,000 miles with only occasional gasket and timing chain replacements. The aftermarket exploded for this engine, and parts are still everywhere. Ask any GM tech. The L31 was one of the last engines they truly respected from the small block era. Number 6. Toyota 22R 22RE 2.4L Inline 4. Toyota's 22R and its fuel-injected sibling, the 22RE, has reached near-mythical status among mechanics and Toyota fans alike. Built between 1981 and 1995, this 2.4L inline-4 powered Hilux pickups, 4Runners, and other global Toyota workhorses. This was an engine made for war zones. Literally. Military Hiluxes in conflict zones were often equipped with 22Rs, and they ran through desert sand, floodwaters, mountain passes, and sheer neglect. With a cast iron block, thick-walled aluminum head, timing chain system, and 5 main bearings, the 22R was low-tech and extremely tough. It produced a modest around 100 HP and 130 libre-foot, but these engines were geared for durability, not performance. What makes the 22R so remarkable is how often it breaks 500,000 plus miles. Many mechanics report original head gaskets and timing chains still intact after 300,000 miles. Its simplicity means it can be serviced with basic tools and parts are still widely available. Even today, mechanics in Africa, Central America, and rural America still drive trucks powered by original 22Rs. It's one of the few engines ever built that's practically impossible to kill. Number 5. Chrysler 225 Slant 6 Dodge D-Series Ram. Few engines have had the staying power of Chrysler's 225 cubic inch Slant 6, built from 1960 to 1987. Named for its unique 30-degree tilt, this inline 6 is a masterclass in overbuilt design. The slanted design wasn't just a visual quirk, it allowed for a lower hood line, better oil return flow, and cleaner packaging. But what really set the 225 apart was its unbreakable construction, a forged steel crankshaft, 7 massive main bearings, and a cast iron block that was almost unnecessarily strong. Horsepower was modest, around 100 to 150 HP depending on the era, but torque was consistent, and the engine had a tractor-like ability to run forever. Dodge D-Series trucks equipped with this engine were known to start every morning for 20-plus years with nothing more than oil changes. Mechanics routinely report seeing Slant 6s with 400,000-plus miles on original internals. Even when running rough or with leaking gaskets, they just keep on running. And thanks to their simple carburation and minimal electronics, they're a favorite among hot rodders and old-school rebuilders. In many ways, the Slant 6 was the backbone of working-class America, a reliable blue-collar engine that simply wouldn't quit. Number 4. Toyota 2UZ FE 4.7L V8 First-gen Tundra and Land Cruiser. Toyota's 2UZ FE was their first real foray into full-size truck engines, and they overbuilt it on purpose. Introduced in 2000 in the Toyota Tundra, Land Cruiser, Sequoia, and Lexus LX470, this 4.7L V8 remains one of the most trusted gasoline truck engines in history. It used a deep-skirt cast iron block, forged steel crankshaft, oversized bearings, and aluminum heads with thick valve seats. Output ranged from 240 to 275 horsepower, with torque in the 350 to 330 libre-foot range, depending on application. But here's what really sets it apart. Engines with over 500,000 miles still run with near-factory compression, and there are documented cases of 1 million-mile 2UZs with minimal internal wear. Its timing belt design, while requiring maintenance, is incredibly robust. The variable valve timing system is less complex than newer systems and lasts far longer. The cooling system and oiling design were engineered with high heat, high-stress towing in mind, making it a favorite for RVs and long-haul drivers. Mechanics often describe this engine with one word: flawless. It's everything people wish the American V8s of the 2000s were. Tight tolerances, big margins, and minimal failures. The 2UZ doesn't just last, it thrives under pressure. Number 3. Ford 7.3L Powerstroke Diesel F250 Super Duty F350 Super Duty. Now we're getting serious. The 7.3L Powerstroke, built by Navistar International and used in Ford's Super Duty trucks from 1994 to 2003, is widely considered one of the greatest diesel truck engines ever built. Let's start with the basics. A cast iron block, forged steel crankshaft, direct injection, and hydraulic electronic unit injectors (HEUI) that were ahead of their time. Stock power ranged from 210 to 275 HP, with torque as high as 525 libre-foot, but the magic wasn't in the numbers, it was in the mileage. Mechanics report seeing these engines with 20,000 hours of idling time still starting on the first crank. Its turbocharged system, massive oil capacity, and low-stress redline made it ideal for towing, snow plowing, and commercial work. It wasn't the fastest engine, but it was nearly impossible to kill. Even today, clean examples are in high demand. The 7.3 Powerstroke is the kind of engine that makes you regret selling the truck, and that's not something many modern diesels can claim. Number 2. Cummins 5.9 Li 12-valve Diesel Dodge Ram 1989 to 1998. This is the engine that changed the American diesel truck world forever. When Dodge partnered with Cummins in 1989 to drop a 5.9-liter inline-six diesel into the Ram, it was a bold move. Until then, most diesel pickups were underpowered and slow, but the 12-valve Cummins delivered something unheard of: massive torque, tractor-level durability, and simplicity that made mechanics nod in approval. The legendary Bosch VE and later P7100 mechanical injection pumps, forged steel crankshaft and rods, direct injection, and no computers. But more importantly, it could handle double that with minimal upgrades and keep running. What makes the 12-valve Cummins so iconic is how basic yet bulletproof it is. The engine's P-pump is praised as the most reliable injection pump ever built. The inline-six design offers perfect natural balance, reducing wear on internal components. Mechanics frequently see these engines hit 1 million miles with original internals, especially in farm trucks, haulers, and converted school buses. And even at that mileage, they often start with one crank in winter and burn clean. Want to add power? Turn a screw on the P7100. Want to rebuild it? You can do it on a workbench with hand tools. It's that simple. For many diesel enthusiasts, this is the greatest diesel engine of all time, and it's still in use today in industrial, agricultural, and marine applications around the world. Number 1. Ford 300 Inline-6 4.9-liter 6 F-Series 1965-9. The king of long life. The Ford 300 cubic-inch Inline-6, also known as the 4.9 Li6, is widely regarded as the most reliable gasoline truck engine ever built. Used in F-100s, F-15, S-250s, and even industrial and commercial vehicles for over 30 years, this engine earned a reputation for simple engineering and rock-solid construction. Here's why it lasted so long. 7 main bearings for incredible crankshaft support. Gear-driven camshaft, no chains or belts to fail. Cast iron block and head with thick walls, and head with simple carbureted or throttle body fuel injection. Low revving, torque-heavy power band. It wasn't fast. Horsepower hovered around 120 to 150 HP, with 240 to 160 lb-ft of torque, but it delivered that power at low RPMs with minimal stress. What made it king was its ability to run forever. Mechanics report engines hitting 400,000 to 500,000 miles with basic maintenance. Some versions in fleet trucks like mail carriers or oil rigs were known to run 600,000 plus miles before needing internal work. The 300's design was so inherently balanced and rugged that even with cracked manifolds, low oil, or running hot, it still didn't quit. The rotating assembly had massive safety margins, and even the oil pump was oversized by modern standards. It was also dirt cheap to fix. Parts were everywhere. The ignition system was basic, and the block could survive multiple rebuilds. In an era before digital sensors and turbochargers, the Ford 300 Inline-6 thrived through simplicity, and even now, in rural areas and on old farms, you'll still find these engines starting after sitting for a decade. Mechanics love it, owners swear by it, and rivals envy it. This wasn't just a great engine, it was an unbreakable tool. And there you have it, the most legendary truck engines ever made, ranked and respected by mechanics, trusted by drivers, and proven over millions of miles. Some of these power plants were built in an era when durability mattered more than tech. Others blended modern engineering with old-school toughness. But all of them share one thing in common: they refuse to quit. If you've owned one of these engines or even worked on one, you already know this kind of reliability doesn't come around often. Toke. So here's the question for you. Which engine on this list would you trust to take across the country with 500,000 miles on the odometer? Did we miss any unsung heroes that should have made the cut? Drop your stories in the comments. We want to hear about the engine that never let you down. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. There's plenty more coming soon, whether it's hidden gems, diesel legends, or next-gen tech that might someday join this Hall of Fame. Thanks for watching, and keep those engines running strong.